All you need to do is to read up, and then you can see how faulty the nonsense they put together. But the agenda is to make sure that Nnamdi Kanu never see outside, right? Until maybe when they decided to let him be outside. And that's the persecution. That is not prosecution, right? So he won't defend himself before a law that doesn't exist, right? At the end of the day, okay, it's just to get to a predetermined end after all. So Supreme Court may not even look into this application. Meanwhile, the urgency at which he kind of like submitted it, even under their law, means that the Supreme Court needs to kind of like convene and take a decision on this. But because the power that be, the criminals in charge of Nigeria, right, who have decided to compromise the judiciary to this level, all they have to do is to make sure that the Supreme Court doesn't pick their case. Not now, and not even when the November 20. So if you're doubting me, ask Fubara. PDP governors went to court when Nnamdi declared state of emergency in Rivers State for 6 months. So the PDP governors of Forum, they went to court to challenge that. They went to the Supreme Court, right? So they were supposed to be assigned, it was like supposed to be an accelerated case, right? Baba? Fubara spent that 6 month suspension and the state of emergency. It was like a week or 2 weeks after, when Fubara was already being like reinstated. That was when the Supreme Court now was like ready to look into the case. So it went over, sort of like overriding it. So, so that's why I said that Nnamdi Kanu doesn't have anything to really prove legally to them anymore. It is just to help them continue to show their own folly. So that those of you who believes in, still have a tiny belief in any of their system, then you can understand that a country where the rule of law and then the judiciary is compromised, rule of law doesn't exist, that is not a country. It is even worse than the Banana Republic. Trust me. And talking about Banana Republic, with a Wike's display that went viral 2 days ago, continues to generate reactions, right? So the first set of the reactions came from everybody, like on social media and other places, right? However, behind the scene, the real story have started coming up, okay? So from what I have gathered, this issue of land is more like complicated than what they want to let out. Maybe not that complicated because it's a bit straightforward, but complicated in the sense that it is a man knows man who knows who in this sense. Something that with a Wike believes that no matter who knows what, who knows who, okay, it will still pretty much come out on board. A miscalculation. So this land in question, right, is owned by a retired Rear Admiral, being a Vice Admiral, or of you, who still maintain a very cordial relationship with the current VDM, Vice Admiral or something. So when Wike's land agents discovered this part of Abuja and they were interested in it, so they decided, right, to start like revoking the CFOs of people and all of that, and that includes this man's land. And there were already like projects being done on the land. So when Wike told them to stop projects, like as usual, government will come and say, you've got no approval and you should stop work. By law, they were supposed to stop work because they didn't get any approval for you. And them not getting approval, it's not because they didn't apply for this approval. It is because Wike won't give any approval. Those who got approvals before this person, they were all going to lose their properties. So what's the point? You've been denied the approval, so you won't get it. But they knew why, because Wike and his agent are interested in the land. So man knows man, who knows who. So that one put his own level in their government. And that was how the current chief of Naval staff got involved. That was how those soldiers, those naval officers, that was how they ended up on that property. Because prior, Wike and his agents have been trying, to break into the compound. They've brought out their bulldozers and all that. until when the soldiers came. So they couldn't walk. So they said that on that fateful day, Wike was called to say, hey, we found soldiers here. They won't let us demolish anything. They said if we start the machine, they will shoot us. So they said Wike, because he knew the person who was the owner of the land, right? The guy who was like building something there, okay? So Wike called the called Minister of Defense, Badru. Then also called the Chief of Defense Staff. Both of them told Wike to hang on and let them handle it. They will come back to him. But Wike won't take any of that, as usual. So he called his convoy, his security, and the rest of them jumped straight into the convoy and they drove down. And what happened that day happened. So when that happened, these guys who initially were aware and they told him to hang on, they became a little bit disappointed, possibly like enraged. Because when Wike got to the scene, he still put a call through to the CDS, who he spoke to less than 15 minutes ago, right? Who told him, yeah, don't worry, we'll do something about that. Okay, so don't worry, Minister. So going ahead to go and like try to assault this officer, they didn't take that lightly. And that was what the CDS simply told him that, oh, you are the same. So when the CDS asked Wike to give the phone to this police officer, this officer, so and he explained himself. So when the phone was given back to Wike, the same thing he was told about 20 minutes ago, when he was somewhere, maybe his office, was the same thing the CDS repeated on the phone. Mr. Minister, I told you that we'll handle this. You know what I mean? So I need to speak to the person who, so Wike wasn't happy about that. Okay. So behind the scene, the likes of Buratai the butcher, the former COS or something, right? That killer, reacted and said that Wike's action requires him to, to place an open apology and apologize for him to like humiliate a commissioned, military officer like that. But Tawali as well were like behind the scene, they were all kind of like complaining, like, murmuring. I don't know, maybe it's that complaints or somehow that happened. That forced Wike to call, as usual, to call his own press conference. So then he started telling us how he respects institutions, he respects military, he respects this and that, but he couldn't just sit back and watch when government officials were being harassed by soldiers, threatened. And he's actually like a habitual liar. People who lie for no reason, lying without provocation, right? So Wike,
what was the problem? How can I sit as a minister? Government officials have been attacked. Government officials have been beaten up. Government officials to the level of directorship. Then I'm sitting in my office doing what? How will such officials carry out their functions again when they know their principal or their boss cannot protect them? Not as private individuals, as government officials. So many people have had problems. Chief Olusegun Passenger, former a general, former head of state, former president, he will call me on phone. Minister, there is problem of land here. I say, please carry. I will solve the problem. That is former head of state, former elected president. We have the courtesy of calling the minister. Look, I have this problem. I have this problem. See how you can look into it. General Tiwadan Juma will call you. Look, there is this and this. These are people who, they're all retired generals. These are people with constant discipline. They didn't bother because they were former chief minister. They were former president. They never sent soldiers. They never sent anybody to go and attack anybody. They just call you. And respect the gas. Respect. I have to respect. And I'll tell them, sir, don't worry. I will sort out the problem. And I will do. I won't even talk about other people who are highly placed. They will come to you. Mr. Minister, maybe we didn't know of this. If we knew, we would have done it like this. When a serving Major General attacked the development control, I wrote a letter. The present Chief of Defense Staff was Chief of Army Staff then. I wrote a letter, sir. See. Because that is a serving military officer. That if anything goes wrong, he's still under the authority, under the control of the military. When I came on board, before them, President Jonathan had awarded a contract to develop another city, which was close to the military, but awarded the contract, not me. A Federal Council presided over by the CNC. Awarded. The contractor went there, he was just away. I wrote a letter. We met. The late Chief of Army Staff, Alabangi, was there. The former Chief of Defense Staff was there. These same ministers of defense, they were all there. We all met. I said, look, it is not good, this government and government. I mean, it's not, let's see how we can resolve this money.
He has no job. He has.
With a Wike explain. It's not that in his usual boisterous, garrulous, drunk talk. Sure you get. It's like he's explaining to us something they cook behind. Will Wike be like somebody they don't really like, or at the same time somebody they just couldn't do without for now? He has given them a lot. He has helped them to destroy his own party. He's pretty much homeless now. If anything should happen, where bas, and Wike gets sacked. Hey, I think that's going to even be worse than Wike getting kidnapped by maybe Fulani terrorist. I mean, if they say, oh, Wike has been kidnapped by Fulani terrorist, I mean, God forgive me, oh, there are so many of you here that will actually probably just like laugh and dance. And then you ask for forgiveness after, right? But sacking Wike, hey. So there are some people within their government that Wike himself knows that they cannot by any means be pressured and fall for that pressure in a way that, you know what I mean? If they, for instance, if Bajabi Amole, you get me now, if Bajabi Amole decided that, Chief of Staff, Minister Wike, we are doing a cabinet reshuffle. Now, so it goes start to cabinet reshuffle. They say you're now going to go to Ministry of Tourism. Tourism. Okay. They go do another reshuffle. It was said Wike has been dropped, and President Tinubu has asked, is grateful for all his work, his tremendous, greatest. They go praise him. Now, so Wike go beginning the journey to the wilderness. So watch his countenance. He's explaining to us. You would think Wike had a clash with the minister, with the Chief of Defense Staff. Yeah, that's the highest military chief. The way Wike is explaining to us, you would think Wike had a fight with the Chief of Defense Staff of Nigeria in the military. No, he had a clash with a naval officer, a junior officer, not junior like that, but a captain or something. That's the person he had an argument with. And he called a press conference a day after, 2 days after all the robodion behind the scene, to explain to me and you what really happened and why we must try to work. There is more. Watch this part.
What was the problem? How can I see it as a minister? Government officials have been attacked. Government officials have been beaten up. Government officials to the level of directorship. Then I'm sitting in my office doing what? How will such officials carry out their functions again when they know their principal or their boss cannot protect them? Not as private individuals, as government officials. So many people have had problems. Chief Olusegun Passenger, former a general, former head of state, former president, he will call me on phone. Minister, I look good at this problem of land here. Please carry it. I will solve the problem. That is former head of state, former elected president. We have the courtesy of calling the minister. Look, I have this problem. I have this problem. See how you can look into it. General Tiwa Danjuma would call you. Look, there is this and this and this. These are people who, they're all retired generals. These are people with constant discipline. They didn't bother because they were former chief of minister. They were former president. They never sent soldiers. They never sent anybody to go and attack anybody. They just call you. And respect the gas, respect. Have to respect. And I'll tell them, sir, don't worry. I will sort out the problem. And I will do. I won't even talk about other people who are highly placed. They will come to you. Mr. Minister, maybe we didn't know of this. If we knew, we would have done it like this. When a serving Major General attacked the development control, I wrote a letter. The present chief of defense staff was chief of army staff then. I wrote a letter, sir. See. Because that is a serving military officer. That if anything goes wrong, he's still under the authority, under the control of the military. When I came on board, before them, President Jonathan had awarded a contract to develop another city, which was close to the military, but awarded a contract, not me. A Federal Council presided over by the CNC awarded. The contractor went there, he was just away. I wrote a letter. We met. The late chief of army staff, Alabangi, was there. The former chief of defense staff was there. These same ministers of defense, they were all there. We all met. I said, look, it is not good, this government and government. I mean, it's not, let's see how we can resolve this matter. I never one day, I respect the institutions. And I know what it takes. Even as a governor, nobody, no governor will say that they supported the military more than me. So I know. But how do you see a private individual knowing fully well that you are against the law? It is not military versus government. No. If it was military, I would have written to them that, look, military, why are you doing this? private individual. Land was not allocated to him. Land was allocated to a company called Santos in 2007 for parks and recreation. They applied to the former minister for change of use. The minister